Cocaine Bear is directed by Elizabeth Banks and stars Kerry Russell, Alden Ehrenreich, I'm sorry if I can't get his name right, Oshia Jackson Jr., and among others, and Ray Liotta as well, and among others. And in this story, it is based on a true story that happened in the 1980s where you had basically a drug smuggler. There was a plane that basically carried bags of cocaine that was dropped out of the sky after an incident happens to where, well, if you know from the story, there's some, after a plane crashes, there's essentially cocaine that ends up getting loose, and this bear ends up coming across this cocaine and pretty much starts to wreak havoc around the forest and stuff. And a bunch of other people that are surrounding that are in the forest end up coming across the bear, and they all have like their own plot storylines that kind of or that are intertwined involving the bear. Now, here's a little backstory. Now, this movie was directed by Elizabeth Banks. I've always admired Elizabeth Banks as an actress. I haven't really seen much of her films that she's directed. Like, I haven't seen any of the Pitch Perfect movies or even the reboot she did a couple years ago of with Charlie's Angels. But I've always liked her as an actress, and the story behind this got me really interested because knowing kind of what they were doing with the whole story about the crazy incident involving this bear that inhales cocaine and stuff, it made it for an interesting movie of what they could do with it. And the cast alone really got me interested, especially, may rest in peace, Ray Liotta in one of his last movies that he did. And so I couldn't be more interested in what they were going to play with this whole concept. And so upon seeing the film, I could say that this was definitely a hell of a good time. This was definitely probably the most entertaining film that I've seen so far this year. But I thought this one really made it to where they use their premise to the extent as best they can, and they don't hold any. They have it. They don't hold back on it. To get my pros out of the way, I really enjoyed the cast in this. I thought they were all fantastic. Kerry Russell, it's great seeing her again. The biggest ones that me to stand them out the most are Alden Ehrenreich and Oshia Jackson Jr. that end up playing these guys that are doing a drug run for Ray Liotta's character, and essentially they're the ones that get into a lot of the. You see some of the trailers where they do a lot of the weird stuff that's involved with the bear, where it's like on top of one of them and stuff, and shit goes really crazy with them. And I thought they had a really great chemistry together and all that. And it's good seeing Alden in a movie like this in a while because I remember really enjoying him in Solo, and I haven't really seen him much in other films. I do find him as a pretty underrated actor. And so I thought they were great. And then, it was also great seeing Ray Liotta one last time in a film. Man, I was just really sad when he passed away. He's always been one of my favorite actors, and seeing him one last time in the movie like this is a treat because he plays the guy that sends them on the drug run in order to get the cocaine back and stuff because he has to get it in order to basically. It's presumed that he's kind of working for the cartel or whatever, or for I think for probably the Colombians. I believe it's kind of hinted at that. And so I thought he was great, and then also it was also really cool seeing Isaiah Whitlock Jr. in a movie because I don't really know him much from The Wire because he has this famous catchphrase where he goes "shit." That guy. I thought he was really great in this, and it's been a while since I really seen him in anything, and I thought he was fantastic. And then one of the other biggest pros I got to enjoy the most is how bad shit and crazy it gets with a lot of the death scenes, especially when we're seeing the bear attacking people in several ways and the after effects of what they show of body parts and things like that. I thought they really did a great job blending a lot of good practical effects with it. Because this movie does get insanely gory, and it has also some scenes that can be pretty horrific at times, but then other scenes can play out like for laughs and stuff. And I did laugh quite a bit throughout the movie. It has some jokes here and there that didn't quite work so well, which I get into some of my cons with. But for the most part, I thought the humor worked really well with the way it blended with a lot of the stuff happening and everything. And it's kind of what you expect with this kind of film. Now, if I will have to say too, is that one of the other things I got to appreciate as well is the movie does kind of have some things that are interesting as far as playing into the themes of parenting and stuff, because it does play a big part with, especially with Kerry Russell's character, who's trying to basically look for her daughter who goes missing and stuff like that, and the movie kind of builds upon with it trying to not only have a parent seeking their children and stuff, but also, not going to go into spoilers, but that also kind of plays into effect with the things that happen with the bear itself later on in the film. So I thought that was really interesting how they were kind of given some nice themes of parenting in this film that really worked well. And that also plays into effect with the whole thing going on with Ray Liotta and Alden Ehrenreich's character, who's the son of Ray Liotta. And Alden, I think, is like one of the only people that's in the film that seems to kind of have somewhat of a character arc that I thought really worked throughout the movie. So I thought that was really good. And then, other than that, though, I mean, there's really not much to go into my, because it is what you expect. It's pure. The pacing's really fast, as you would kind of expect with this movie being a little over an hour and a half and everything. And it is definitely succeeds in being entertaining as hell. One of my other biggest things, too, is I really do like the way the movie presents itself as trying to be set in the 80s and stuff, especially with the, like, closing credits and a lot of the music choices that select, and a lot of the setting itself too. I could tell that they really put their homework in trying to make it like the 80s. A lot of the, the production value and things like that, and a lot of the aesthetics of where they blended in with certain areas, I think really worked. And I really enjoy. I always get a kick out of when movies are set in period pieces that are set in the 80s and stuff, and other ones like the 70s and 90s. So I thought that was great. Now, if I had to get into some of my cons, I will say that kind of hold it back from being very great would be that, well, it does boggle down to where there's too much going on into 90 minutes. And while that can be good for pacing with the way it plays it very fastly, it does feel like had the movie would have went on longer and stuff, we could have fleshed a lot of things out with a lot of the characters that are presented, especially with Kerry Russell's character. This subplot involving this park ranger and stuff like that. Then you also have a subplot involving the cop that's Isaiah Whitlock's character. There's a lot of things I think that had they would have spent more time with and made the movie longer, we could have seen a lot more development happening with these characters, because a lot of characters that they do present here and there with, they do kind of come in and then they're basically out of the movie after a while with some of them they present with. So I think that had the movie really had more strong writing in that aspect as far as writing the characters, it really would have made itself a lot more, given a good blend of balance of both, the fun route, and then also making it also a very good movie as well. And so that was one of my other issues, because one of the other things I will have to admit too is that the movie does seem like there's some stuff that makes it seem like all the characters in here, other than Alden Ehrenreich and Kara Russell, those and O'Shea Jackson Jr., those are like the only characters I found myself really invested with the most, as the rest of the characters are very either disposable or don't really have much of a purpose, or just flat out, they're flat out assholes. And so that was one of the things that kind of held it back, but I was still going along with the movie, but those are the things that you could still see that they struggle with as far as like really knowing what to do with these characters. And then one of the other things too I have to admit is that the movie did have some pretty bad CGI at times, where some of the parts where you see the bear move and things like that, it was pretty off-putting at times. But with it being a comedy, I kind of give it some. It didn't really distract me too much, because it did kept me going with a lot of the other fun stuff they were doing, especially in that chase sequence with the ambulance. I thought that was not only funny, it was really intense and funny, but it really shows how much this bear will go into to pretty much getting its prey whenever it inhales this cocaine and everything. And so overall, though, there's more I can go into detail, but it is exactly what I would expect with this kind of film. And with that, with the movie really bringing so much entertainment with me, I'm gonna give the movie a very extremely low compelling grade on the Film Freaks meter. And so for those of you who have also seen Cocaine Bear, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next review. I'll see you later.